It should have been a quiet afternoon. The kind of day where a man finally exhales after months of chaos. But for Sergeant Marcus Johnson, still in his army fatigues and carrying grocery bags for his mother, peace lasted only seconds. Because the moment Officer Daniel Reeves spotted him outside Miller's grocery, everything flipped. "Hey, drop those bags. Hands where I can see 'em." The crowd froze. Cars slowed. And what happened next would shake an entire town and leave a cop face to face with the man who had once saved his own son's life. So buckle in. This isn't just a story about a bad stop. It's a story about respect, sacrifice, and what happens when racism blinds someone to the truth standing right in front of them. And trust me, you'll want to watch this to the very end. Because the ending? No one saw it coming. Don't forget to hit subscribe, because these stories matter, and today, you'll see why. Marcus adjusted the weight of the brown paper bags in his hands. Inside, apples, bread, his mother's favorite peach preserve. Simple things he hadn't touched in months. The late summer sun warmed his back, and for the first time since Afghanistan, he let himself believe he was safe. He had done his duty, shed his sweat, blood, and time. Now he just wanted a quiet meal with family. At 32, Marcus carried himself with discipline. Broad shoulders, steady gaze, the kind of man who made people instinctively move aside. Yet he wasn't arrogant. He knew respect wasn't owed, it was earned. That was the man Reeves couldn't see. Daniel Reeves had been with Riverton PD for over a decade. On paper, he was decorated, commendations for drug busts, a Medal of Valor from a standoff 5 years back. But the cracks showed. At 45, divorce papers still sat unsigned on his kitchen table. His drinking had gotten heavier, his patience thinner. To him, uniforms were costumes unless backed by a badge like his. When he spotted Marcus leaving Miller's grocery, something twisted in him. The sight of a tall black man in fatigues carrying groceries didn't inspire respect. It triggered suspicion. Another faker, Reeves thought. Playing soldier to earn pity. He threw his patrol car into park and stormed across the asphalt. "Hey, drop those bags. Hands where I can see 'em." Marcus turned, startled. The bags wobbled. "Excuse me?" Reeves squared his stance, one hand hovering near his holster. "You deaf? Drop it. Now." Marcus set the bags down carefully, eyes narrowing. "Officer, I don't want trouble. I'm just taking groceries home." "Groceries?" Reeves sneered, circling him like prey. "That's a nice uniform. Real clean. Where'd you rent it?" Marcus' pulse quickened. He raised his chin. "I didn't rent it. My name's Sergeant Marcus Johnson, U.S. Army. 2 tours." Reeves stepped closer, voice dripping with contempt. "2 tours, huh? And now you're here, shopping for peaches? Doesn't add up." Marcus forced his tone steady. "My ID's in my wallet. You can check it." But Reeves shoved him against the hood before he could reach. The slam rattled Marcus' ribs. "Stay still. Don't you move." Pain shot through Marcus' side, but he stayed calm. "Training. Breathe. Control." "Officer," Marcus said quietly, "you're making a mistake. I came home less than 2 days ago." Reeves barked a bitter laugh. "Yeah? And I'm supposed to believe the army sent you back a hero? Men like you don't serve. Men like you hustle, lie, and play dress up." Marcus' jaw tightened. The sting wasn't just physical now, it was personal. He had risked everything for a country that still saw him as a threat. Reeves pressed harder, though doubt flickered in his chest. His son Tyler's face flashed in his mind, pale, broken, haunted by nightmares of war. Tyler never spoke of the man who had pulled him from that wreckage, only describing a shadow of courage. A shadow Reeves couldn't recognize now, even when it stood right in front of him. But Reeves wasn't ready to admit weakness. Admitting wrong meant cracking the armor he lived behind. So he dug deeper into aggression. "Show me your papers," Reeves hissed, "or I swear I'll drag you in." Marcus didn't flinch. "If you can't see the truth in front of you, dragging me won't change it." The words hit harder than any shove. Cars slowed on the street. People paused on sidewalks. No one interfered, but the weight of their eyes pressed in. Marcus lifted his head, scanning faces. A teacher from his old high school, a neighbor who used to wave when he mowed the lawn. Recognition was there, but fear held them back. Reeves mistook the silence for control. He yanked Marcus' wallet from his pocket and flipped it open. Army ID. Honorable discharge papers tucked behind it. Still he scoffed. "Thick. The internet sells better counterfeits than this." Marcus exhaled slowly. "You're crossing a line you can't uncross." Reeves leaned close, voice low and venomous. "Let me tell you something, Sergeant. You don't get to walk around here like a hero. Not in my town." Marcus stared straight ahead, the metal of the hood cold against his cheek. His silence wasn't surrender, it was restraint. Because one wrong move, and this could end in blood. His mother's voice echoed in his memory, "Hold your head high, son. Don't let ignorance drag you down." So he waited, and that patience would soon tear open a truth neither man expected. The growl of an engine cut through the tension. A black SUV rolled to a stop. A tall man in full dress uniform stepped out, metals gleaming in the sun. His voice thundered across the lot. "Sergeant Johnson, stand down. I'll handle this." Every muscle in Reeves' body locked. Authority radiated from the stranger's presence. And what he was about to reveal would flip everything Reeves thought he knew, about Marcus, about himself, and about the family he thought he was protecting. The black SUV's doors slammed shut in unison, and silence rippled across the parking lot like a dropped stone into still water. Out stepped Colonel David Harper, his dress uniform pristine, ribbons and medals catching the sunlight like shards of fire. His gait was deliberate, every step carrying the weight of 25 years of command. "Sergeant Johnson," Harper barked, voice cutting through the humid air, "stand down. I'll handle this." Marcus, pinned to the cruiser, shifted his gaze but didn't move. His breath came steady, measured, but his jaw tightened as if the restraint itself cost him. Reeves stiffened, his grip faltering before he caught himself. He forced a sneer to mask the tremor in his voice. "This doesn't concern you, sir. Step back. I'm detaining a suspect for impersonating military personnel." Harper's eyes narrowed. He stopped just a few feet away, close enough for Reeves to see the silver in his hair, the scars carved into his hardened face. "A suspect." His tone was razor-sharp. "That man is Sergeant Marcus Johnson. 2 tours overseas. Commendations for valor. He is as real as the uniform on my back." Reeves blinked, stunned for half a beat, then doubled down. "Fake IDs are easy. A uniform and a story don't mean anything. Men like him—" "Careful, officer," Harper cut in, voice low but lethal. "Choose your next words as if your badge depends on them. Because it does." The tension thickened, heavy as storm clouds. Marcus stayed silent, his pride wounded but his discipline unbroken. His mind drifted to his last mission, dragging soldiers through dust and fire, the searing pain in his leg when shrapnel tore into him. He had survived nights where mortars screamed across the desert sky. Yet here he was, bruised by the disbelief of a man sworn to protect the very freedoms he had bled for. Reeves adjusted his belt, sweat dampening the collar of his shirt. He wasn't used to being challenged in public, especially not by men who outranked him in ways he didn't understand. But beneath his stubbornness churned a memory he couldn't suppress. 3 years earlier, Reeves had received a phone call that nearly shattered him. His son Tyler, barely 20, had been deployed in Afghanistan. The convoy he was assigned to had been ambushed. For 20 agonizing minutes, Reeves believed he would have to bury his only child. Then came the news. Tyler had survived. Not just survived, he had been pulled from the wreckage by another soldier who risked his own life to drag him clear of the flames. Tyler never gave names. Trauma locked his stories behind trembling lips and sleepless nights. But he had once muttered, in the haze of a nightmare, about a tall black sergeant who refused to leave him behind. Reeves remembered those words now, though pride and prejudice made him shove them back into the shadows of his mind. Accepting them meant facing the hypocrisy he had built his life upon. Colonel Harper closed the space between them, his voice rising, each syllable like a hammer. "I trained this man. I bled with this man's unit. And I watched him pull soldiers out of fire when everyone else froze. He's earned more respect than you could show in 10 lifetimes. Reeves bristled. I have authority here. He was resisting. That's probable cause. Marcus spoke for the first time since Harper's arrival, his voice quiet but steady, aimed like a blade. Resisting? All I did was carry groceries home to my mother. If standing upright in uniform is resistance, then maybe the problem isn't me. The word struck like gunfire. A murmur swept through the onlookers, low but undeniable. The crowd was no longer passive, they were witnesses. Reeves' hand twitched toward his radio, instinct screaming for backup, for a way out of the corner he had trapped himself in. But Harper's stare froze him. Backup won't save you from this, Harper said, as if reading his thoughts. You've crossed a line that dishonors every officer who wears that badge for the right reasons. As Reeves faltered, Marcus's thoughts drifted backward, unbidden. He remembered the night in Kandahar, the dust choking his lungs, the screams of men pinned down under fire. Tyler Reeves had been one of them. Marcus could still feel the boy's weight slung across his shoulders, the burning metal of the armored vehicle collapsing behind them. He had carried Tyler through gunfire, ignoring the searing heat of shrapnel embedded in his calf. He hadn't cared about the boy's skin color, his accent, or the patches on his uniform. He had seen a soldier in need, a life worth saving. Now he wondered bitterly, if Reeves had seen him then, would he still see only suspicion? Colonel, you don't know this town, Reeves snapped, desperation cracking his tone. We've had imposters before, men using fake uniforms to scam people. I'm doing my job. No, Harper shot back, his voice thunderous. You're doing your prejudice. And you've exposed it for everyone here to see. Reeves' face flushed crimson. Marcus shifted slightly, the metal of the cruiser cooling against his chest. He spoke with quiet intensity. Ask your son, officer. Ask him who carried him out of Kandahar. Ask him who refused to leave him behind when the world was burning. The words hung in the air, heavy, undeniable. Reeves froze, his breath catching. Tyler's broken whispers replayed in his head. A tall black sergeant wouldn't let me die. The parking lot was silent now, every ear straining for the next word. Even the air seemed to pause, waiting. Reeves' hand slipped from Marcus's arm. His grip faltered, authority bleeding away with the weight of memory. His throat tightened, but his pride clawed desperately at the edges. He wanted to deny it, to dismiss it, to cling to the armor of authority that had shielded him for years. But deep down he knew, the man before him wasn't an imposter. He was the very reason Reeves still had a son to come home to. Colonel Harper stepped closer, his voice low, dangerous, final. You've spent your career deciding who deserves respect. But today you nearly broke the man who gave your son his second chance at life. What will you do with that truth, Officer Reeves? Reeves' lips parted, words clawing to escape, but nothing came. The silence was louder than any denial. Marcus stood tall, chest rising and falling with restrained fury. And in that moment, the badge Reeves wore weighed heavier than ever, because it no longer symbolized authority. It symbolized a lie. The next move would decide everything. The silence stretched until it choked the air. Officer Daniel Reeves stood rigid, his hands still hovering near his holster as though it were the last lifeline to authority he had left. His pulse hammered against his throat. Colonel Harper's stare bore into him, unrelenting. What will you do with the truth, officer? Reeves swallowed hard. For years he had ruled Riverton streets with a mix of barked orders and unspoken fear, his badge a shield, his word rarely challenged. Yet here he was, unraveling in broad daylight, his authority cracked by the weight of one soldier's calm defiance and another officer's unwavering testimony. He opened his mouth, but the words refused to form. Marcus Johnson stood silent, dignity carved into every line of his face. The contrast made Reeves feel smaller than he had in decades. In his mind, pride roared. Admit nothing. Double down. The department always closed ranks around its own. He could frame this as procedure, write it up as resisting arrest, and make the paperwork bury Marcus. It was the system's oldest trick, bend the narrative until the victim became the aggressor. But another voice cut through, softer, relentless. He saved Tyler. Reeves saw flashes of his son, trembling in hospital sheets, staring blankly at the ceiling when the nightmares came. The boy who barely spoke for months. The boy who once whispered about a sergeant who wouldn't let him die. Reeves had spent years ignoring the details, pushing them into shadows. Now the shadows stood before him in flesh and blood, staring back with eyes that had seen too much war to waste time on lies. "Sergeant Johnson deserves your respect," Harper said, his voice echoing like thunder against steel. "But more than that, he deserves accountability for what you've done today. And let's not pretend this is the first time, officer." Reeves' head snapped up. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I know enough," Harper countered. "I've spoken to men in this town. I've read reports swept under the rug. Excessive force complaints dismissed. Arrests that never should have happened. How many lives have you trampled because you thought the uniform gave you the right?" A murmur rippled through the onlookers. Some faces stiffened with recognition. They had heard stories. Some had lived them. Marcus finally spoke, his voice low but edged with steel. "I may have survived Kandahar, officer. But I shouldn't have to survive Riverton too." The words hung like a noose. Reeves felt his chest tighten. He knew the department had its ways, reports filed light, testimonies reshaped, cameras switched off when convenient. Chief Hanlon had taught him the unwritten rule on day one: protect your brothers first. The rest is paperwork. But this wasn't paperwork anymore. This was public. And worse, this was personal. Because the man he had just brutalized might be the very one who had saved the only thing in Reeves' life that still tethered him to hope: his son. Marcus stepped away from the cruiser slowly, his shoulders straight though bruises darkened his skin. He fixed Reeves with a steady look, one soldier to another man stripped of excuses. "You think this uniform is for show?" Marcus said, voice cutting the air clean. "When your son's convoy burned, I carried him. When he screamed for his father, I promised him he would see you again. I didn't care about his skin or his name. I cared that he was a soldier, and I wouldn't leave him behind." Reeves' mouth went dry. He had spent years burying that image, convincing himself his son had been saved by nameless hands, faceless duty. To put Marcus' face on that memory was unbearable. Harper folded his arms, watching Reeves squirm. "And this is how you repay that debt? By slamming the man into a hood for carrying groceries?" From across the lot, a squad car rolled up. 2 more officers stepped out, their hands already tense near their belts. One, Officer Klein, looked at Reeves with concern. "Dan, what's going on here?" Reeves straightened, desperate to reassert control. "I've got it under control. Just handling a suspect." Klein's eyes flicked to Marcus' uniform, then to Colonel Harper. His jaw tightened. "That's not a suspect. That's Sergeant Johnson. I've seen his face in the local paper. He just got back." Reeves' throat clenched. "Klein, fall in line. You know how this works." But Klein didn't move. Neither did the other officer. Their hesitation cracked something deeper than pride. It cracked the code of silence. "This isn't just about you, Reeves," Harper said. "This is about a department that teaches men to protect each other instead of the truth. Today, the truth broke through. And now everyone here sees it." Reeves' heart pounded. He looked at the crowd, old neighbors, kids from the block, men and women who had whispered for years about heavy hands and crooked reports. They were no longer silent. Their eyes told him the shield of impunity had fractured. "You think one incident undoes a career?" Reeves snapped, voice laced with desperation. Harper leaned in, his words quiet but lethal. "One incident can undo a life. Ask yourself whose life you're destroying right now, yours or his." Reeves' lips trembled. He wanted to shout, to deny, to cling to the badge on his chest like a drowning man clings to driftwood. But the badge suddenly felt like lead, dragging him down. The image of Tyler's haunted eyes surfaced again, this time sharper. His son's voice echoed in his memory. "He wouldn't leave me, Dad. He carried me through fire." Reeves looked at Marcus, bruised, but unbroken. Dignified in a way Reeves had never managed even in his best years. The truth was undeniable. His pride cracked. His system was crumbling. His authority was gone. Reeves' voice came out low, hoarse, barely audible. If what you're saying is true, if you really saved my boy. Marcus cut him off, eyes sharp. Ask him yourself. Tonight. Then decide who the liar is. The crowd leaned closer, hanging on every word. Harper didn't flinch, waiting for Reeves to break. Reeves' hand hovered over his badge, the symbol of everything he had built and everything now slipping away. And in that moment, Daniel Reeves had to choose: protect his pride, or face the corruption that had shielded him for years. Either choice would shatter the world he knew. The parking lot was still. The heat of the late afternoon clung to every surface, thick and heavy, as though the town itself was holding its breath. Officer Reeves' hand hovered near his badge, fingers trembling against the cool metal. For years, that badge had been his shield, his justification, his identity. Now it felt like a weight threatening to drag him under. Marcus stood tall, chest bruised, dignity intact. Colonel Harper stayed beside him, unyielding. The onlookers lingered, no longer casual witnesses but silent jurors. And in that tense circle, the truth demanded air. Reeves fumbled for his phone. His throat constricted as he dialed the number he knew by heart but dreaded to press. It rang twice before a weary voice answered. "Dad." Tyler Reeves sounded groggy, his voice still colored by the scars of war. Daniel Reeves' voice cracked. "Son, I need to ask you something. It's important." There was a pause. "What is it?" "There was a sergeant," Reeves said slowly. "In Kandahar. You once told me about him. Said he carried you through fire. Do you remember his name?" On the other end, Tyler's breathing shifted. A tremor of recognition cut through the line. "I told you before, Dad. Sergeant Marcus Johnson. He saved my life. I wouldn't be here without him." The words struck like thunder. Reeves' knees nearly buckled. He glanced at Marcus, who hadn't moved, eyes locked on him with a mixture of pain and expectation. "Tyler," Reeves whispered, voice breaking. "It was him. Just here." Silence. Then Tyler spoke, quieter, heavier. "Then why does he sound hurt in your voice?" The question sliced deeper than any accusation. Reeves had no answer. He hung up, his hands shaking, his pride shattered. For the first time in his career, Reeves lowered his head. His voice rasped, carrying none of the authority he once wielded so easily. "I was wrong," he said. The words felt foreign, jagged, tearing at his throat as they came. "I saw a man and I judged him before I saw the soldier. Before I saw the truth. And I laid my hands on the man who saved my son." The crowd stirred, whispers blending into a low rumble. Marcus' voice cut through, steady but firm. "This isn't just about me. It's about every man and woman who walks these streets wearing the wrong color skin in your eyes. How many didn't have a colonel show up to defend them? How many didn't get to walk away?" Reeves shut his eyes. Images of names, faces, and reports he had buried clawed at him. Complaints dismissed. Voices ignored. Pride had called it strength. Now he saw it for what it was, corruption woven into his badge. Colonel Harper stepped forward. "Accountability, officer. It doesn't end with words." Reeves nodded slowly, his shoulders sagging as if a lifetime of weight had finally settled where it belonged. He unclipped his badge and placed it on the hood of the cruiser, the sound metallic and final. "I'll face whatever comes," he said quietly, "because I can't carry this lie anymore." The crowd inhaled sharply. Some muttered that it wasn't enough, that justice needed to go further. Others saw, for the first time, a man who had built his life on prejudice finally admitting it aloud. Harper's gaze softened, though his tone remained firm. "This doesn't erase what you did. But it may be the first honest step you've taken in years." Reeves nodded again, his eyes wet. For once, there was no defense. Only surrender. Marcus looked at the man who had pinned him to cold steel only moments ago. He felt the ache in his ribs, the sting of humiliation. But he also thought of Tyler, the young soldier who had clung to life in the smoke and sand, who had whispered for his father in the heat of battle. "I don't forgive what you did today," Marcus said, his voice firm. "But I won't let it break me. Because I didn't fight overseas to come home and fight the same war here. I fought so that men like your son,